First one is about how to not feel deprived when you actually have food restrictions that you are required to follow. She has mentions autoimmune concerns and allergies, and she often feels left out of food-related social events. So when someone goes out of their way to bring gluten-free bakery treats or something that she can have, she feels the desire to eat them all. Which this is a good question, and a question that we often get, well, in the customer service inbox, which I manage, we do get a lot of questions about, can I do Balance365 with this allergy? Or, I'm celiac, or I'm gluten-free, or I'm vegetarian. It might just be like a more, not medical restriction, but a moral preference to eat a certain way. And this is, I think, one of the greatest things about Balance365 is you really can use the principles and the skills and apply it into a way to eating and foods that work for you, whether that's a moral preference or a medical restriction. But what would you have to say? Like, what suggestions would you have for her?
Well, one really powerful skill that we teach inside of our program is called managing unhelpful thoughts. And the reality is, most people in the world, they just don't have the self-awareness or the mindset skills to kind of turn their perspective around. And I would offer that this is just a thought, right? And it's now this is tricky. Like, I understand, like, it's a hard no for her. There are foods that she can't have that look delicious. I would argue she actually can. It still is a choice. Even being allergic to peanuts, it's still a choice. But people choose not to because the consequences are very detrimental, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that different, honestly, than people who are trying to manage their mind and manage their thoughts around restraint and learning to say no because they've just had enough, like their stomach is full and not overeat, right? Uh, FOMO eating is like one of the number one things that we deal with, right? Eating for pleasure. This person's limitation is she can't have some of these foods without serious health consequences. Some of our members can't have these foods because they have a goal, right? They have a weight
Mm-hmm.
loss goal. They have maybe it's not even a weight loss, maybe they're just they're trying to work on their overeating issues, their emotional eating issues, right? In the end, it's still a no, whether you're allergic or just trying to get on top of some of your habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you are learning the skill of managing your thoughts and you're learning the skill to call out unhelpful thoughts, like to me, this is just a really unhelpful thought to say, oh, you can't have this. This is a food restriction you have. This is very depriving. Your life sucks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, that's not very fun. And it just doesn't seem like it would lead anywhere positive. So, okay, you have this thought. You can't control your thoughts. They come in and out. We think things all the time that are really unhelpful. What if you identified this as an unhelpful thought and decided, what do I want to think that leads me to feel better about this experience? And you might decide, hey, that's an unhelpful thought. I'm going to think here, listen, this is what I need to do to support my body. I am supporting myself right now by saying no. And there are plenty of good foods out there that I can still eat.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, this is actually, when I read her question, I kind of hear like a 2-for-1. There might be some unhelpful thoughts pertaining to the restrictions that she has around food. And I think what you offered is great. Like, you can still technically eat these foods, but what you're choosing is how you want to feel after you eat those
Yeah.
foods. So like, yeah, I can eat these foods, but when I eat these foods, I have really, really, really like unfortunate consequences. And for some people,
Mm-hmm.
obviously even fatal, right? So
Yeah.
like keeping that in mind, that you still have some autonomy, but you're choosing how you want to feel in the end. But
Mm-hmm.
when she also says, I'm hearing a little bit maybe of like scarcity as well, when she says that
Mm-hmm.
someone brings these gluten-free bakery treats, she wants to eat them all. And I'd love to have a little bit more information from her on this. If she were in coaching, I would say like, well, what's behind that? Because it could be, I don't want to disappoint people because they went through the effort of making me a special treat so I could have them. And now I feel like I have to eat them, right? I don't want to disappoint them. But it could also be, I just don't get these treats very often. And this is really exciting. And so, and because I don't get them often, I'm going to eat them all. Like,
Yeah.
in a
And
few days.
well, and also that's just kind of leading back to my point about how she maybe thinks this is like only her going through this. And I would just argue that, hey, there's like, we have members who don't have, whether they're gluten free or not, right? They're not celiac. They can have the treats that come into the office and they still have the same compulsion. So I understand that she feels like it's a unique compulsion, but I would just say like food compulsion period exists in everybody, whether they allergies or not. And we're all trying to, that's what we're all trying to overcome, right? Is how do I experience this compulsion in a way that takes me to where I want to go?
Yeah.